game pressure. He was really a reserve with those zealots early game. You know, going out, putting on some pressure, but then falling back. Had great base defense, keeping off those zerglings and defending those roaches.
So here on Whirlwind, I wonder if we'll see similar aggressive moves by Jaedong. You know, I think Crank just got significantly ahead from a lot of the opening, where, like, even though he didn't kill the third with that Zell attack, Jaedong made so many speedings and roaches. His economy just was never where his Zerg economy wants to be.
Yeah, I think it was over 50 zerglings before that. Like, just as soon as that third base was up and while he was defending it. That's a lot of zerglings.
Yeah, and then he made like 8 roaches as well. And then at that point, he's like, "Oh crap! I got all these units. Got to try to do something with them." He tried to put on some pressure, and I mean, he did some damage, but killing a gateway here or there is nice, but it's not worth the economic hit he took from making all those units in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
So we do see Jaedong again trying to go for the hatchery first, of course, on Whirlwind. It's much less likely a probe can get there in time to block it, given that's a 4-spawn map. They would have to guess first to be at the right location at the right time. And, you know, Crank's not even going to try. He's like, we're just going to wait, delay the scout, just go Nexus first, and then we'll see if he scouts after the Nexus or if he just he plays it. I mean, some Protoss just don't scout. They're like, well, I'll just wait till I have a unit. I'd rather have every single worker mining minerals.
Yeah, Crank's going to do the former and go out and scout. Unfortunately, he's going to go the wrong direction, so he's going to find out the longest time it's going to possibly take. But Jaedong is that a quick third? Jaedong going to go for a 3 hatch here.
It looks like
there
it.
We go.
I like it. Why not?
The macro opening from both players, and we've got a forge in base for Crank. So I guess he's a little bit worried about maybe actually, yeah, maybe.
I mean,
base.
Yeah, I mean, he went Nexus first, so and he put his first pylon was in his main base. So unless he wanted to wait quite a while to get that forge, he kind of had to put it in the main there. And the reason why some people do that is just to save a little bit of resources from not having to send a probe out to build the first pylon out the natural. Of course, I mean, the risk is your walls takes longer to complete, but then your forge is safer too. So there's trade-offs on both sides.
So 2 gases going up here for Stardust, or sorry, Crank. I said Stardust. Jaedong just making a bunch of drones. This is a spawning pool, close to being done. Overlords are spreading out across the map. The first Overlord from Jaedong, or actually the second Overlord he sent out, is heading towards the bottom left part of the map. So that guy will be the first guy. Send back some information on Crank's location. And the probe for Crank will go by this third base, but we'll see that. Okay, he actually does scout it. Nice job there. He actually pulls that probe over there away from just the standard pathing and scouts out that quick third base. So he knows what's up now.
Yeah, he knows exactly the build. I thought he was going to hide that probe, but now he shows it to Jaedong. I guess I wanted to make sure there was no cancel or something funny. And now, you know, is he going to go for some gateway pressure like we saw in that first game? I mean, he did open with the Nexus first, so he doesn't have the fast warp gate. But he has this probe that he could hide somewhere in the map, and proxy pylons on Whirlwind, there's so many locations, it's very hard for Zerg to track down and deny those pylons.
Yeah, Crank, okay, Stargate, yeah, okay. So going for a Stargate opening here right in front of Jaedong. Jaedong sees it. The probe is way up on the top right side of the map, so he does, obviously have that probe outside his base that'll allow him to throw any proxy pylons up there if he feels like doing that. But we're seeing a Stargate opening from Crank, so more than likely this will just be the Phoenixes that we saw from him last game.
Indeed, the Forge is not getting upgrades quite yet for Crank. Really wanted to use all that gas on the Phoenixes. Go up to 4 gas as well. So sometimes players will add up in gateways behind a Stargate and do some zealot pressure behind the Phoenixes. But in this case, Crank looks like he just wants to tech up as fast as possible. We may end up seeing him go for the relatively fast third, and we could even see some mass airplay, given that it is Whirlwind.
Yeah, such a big map. So let's see. Speed now on the way of research. Phoenix is coming out. More drones coming in for Jaedong. Jaedong continue to produce those drones, trying to get those bases efficiently saturated with 16 workers are on minerals and 3 dudes on gas. Hasn't yet taken any more gas just yet. Just the 2 in the main. We'll see what he does with his next 100 gas, if he's going to try and maybe get some upgrades. Actually, there we go. Evolution Chamber coming down. 2 of them, actually. And we'll see if he's going to maybe go for... I don't know. What are you expecting out of Jaedong this game as far as unit composition goes? Like Zergling Muta, maybe?
No, I think he's going to go Roach Hydra again. I'm not positive. If he's going Zergling Muta from the start, he would get the lair before Evos. Because you kind of want the mutas for map control early on in that case.
Yeah.
And it's kind of risky against a player he's already seen a Stargate. So I think, okay, actually he's going Zerglian upgrade. So we may see him just try to dominate the map with Zerglians. He could go straight to Ultradus. Or we could see him, maybe like you said, build the Spire, wait and do like a hard muta switch. When Crank's not suspecting it, there might only be 1 or 2 Phoenixes on the field.
So third base going up for Crank. Does Jaedong actually see that? Jaedong doesn't see it, but he's moving right over there. He's got a lot of Zerglings in position, but that Void Ray, will it be enough to keep this base alive? We'll see.
It's going to be kind of close. The shields are now down. Nexus itself is taking fire, but every Zergling that dies is less damage up. With a cannon up, I think Crank should be fine.
Yeah, he's got this. If he just had a couple more Zerglings there, I think he would have taken that
yeah,
out,
like
but
4 more, and it would have done it, I think. Oh, Zell stands off the wall, but Zerglings couldn't quite make it through there anyway. More and more leans are being sent, and the fact this Nexus is heavily damaged could play a role later if he goes for another snipe with a bunch of Zerglings.
And look at this, a 4th hatch up now, a macro hatch. So really, look, what is a sentry doing way out here?
Just hanging out.
Scout sentry, standard.
Yep. You know, what happens is you're always told use your sentries to scout.
Yeah.
But people rarely actually specifically say use hallucinations. So Crank went to test out the other way of scouting. Didn't work out so well though.
Yeah.
Not
so
so.
Jaedong taking a 4th base up there. Macro hatchery finishing. He's got his infestation pit up, and he's hiding a Hydralisk den kind of up there on the high ground there between the 2 bases. So he's going to have a lot of production capabilities here. We'll see if he's going to start those, if he's going to keep getting more melee upgrades, or if he's going to like transition into some kind of like ranged upgrades. But you know, with the timing of that infestation pit, like you were talking about ultras, it wouldn't surprise me if he just wants to get ultras this game.
It looks like, I mean, he spotted several Void Rays, so he's probably thinking, okay, Void Rays are the threat. What can I do to get rid of Void Rays? Well, he's going Roach, Hydra, Infestor. I thought he might go straight to Hive and try to get some Vipers in play. Of course, Vipers with Hydralisk can be a very powerful force against Protoss. But instead, sticking around the lair, and he's going to be using Fungal Growths along with the Roach Hydra force. Probably looking to put an attack at the 3rd sometime before Crank can really get too many Colossi out or a whole bunch of Storm out.
Yeah, does he have a Robo just yet? No Robo just yet, so he's got the Twilight Council, Templar Archives on the way. He's getting +2. Should be able to get +3 fairly quick here. At the top right, we have a proxy pylon going down. I don't think Jaedong has actually seen that just yet. Nope, not yet, but the Zerglings do scout out that probe. That guy's going to go down. And, yeah, both players are just doing a lot of macroing here, doing a lot of powering up, and there we got a Phoenix from Crank flying around, going to scout out as much as possible.
From Crank's position, when you go for a Stargate then to 3rd base, your goal is to survive and just build up a giant army. And part of that means you have to see what your opponent is doing, because if you don't know what they're doing, how can you expect yourself to survive against it? Meanwhile, he's actually pushing forward now, and what he's trying to do is, I think he was thinking, okay, Jaedong might be going Hive. Let's see if I can hit an attack before that Hive completes and do a lot of damage. And, you know, he's got Zealots warped in here. He can do some multi-prong aggression, bring Jaedong's attention over here to the bottom, and then maybe take out that 4th.
Oh, all those Zealots get caught by that Fungal Growth. Those Zealots get picked off before the fight even starts, but Crank is going to continue going anyway with those Void Rays, with that Archon. He's got some Infestors up here. He's got some Hydra in the top. The Roach is pushing forward. Quick recall before he loses the rest of his army to that attack. But at the same time, the 5th base in the top right, Zealots are warped into that proxy pylon. They may be able to take out the space, but there are 2 Roaches up there more hatching, and it looks like this base will survive.
A lot of damage, though, which is going to make it much easier to take down with future Zealot Warpins. A little bit later in the game, you see Transfuse even be used, trying to make sure the hatchery stays as healthy as possible. Jaedong's really, he's just going heavy lair tech, now getting the 2/2 upgrades for the 2 Carapace. He already has the 1 melee, now getting 2 range attack as well for the Roach Hydra force. The thing is, though, is he's going so heavy lair. When is he going to make his move? Because if Crank is able to get up to, like, 10 Void Rays, a bunch of Psystorm, all of a sudden Jaedong's in trouble.
Yeah, right now we see Crank got to keep, the majority of his, high-tech units, those Void Rays, alive, which is, really critical in that fight. If he would have lost those Void Rays instead of those Zealots, I mean, that would have been huge play there for Jaedong. But he's kept those valuable units alive. +3 on the way. Storm coming out here, too. But Storm is going to do really well versus these Hydras. If he can land some nice Storms on those Hydras, those Void Rays just may be enough to just clear out the rest of the remaining Hydras.
Looks like Jaedong's decided time to push us now. He's also going Hive and Spire behind us, but he wants to do some trades. Of course, he can easily replace at least the Roach portion of his army. And he's got those Infestors to help lock down Charge Thoughts, lock down Void Rays. There are 4 High Templar. Can he get any good feedbacks off? There's a Time Warp, a Storm, another great Storm, another great Storm. Holy moly. That's a lot of dead Zerg.
So Fungal does go down. Crank is now going to run into this choke point, but I mean, Jaedong is all trapped up there. Are there any more storms? It doesn't look like it. Force fields go down. Oh wow, those Void Rays turning on their high power beams, and they're just going to start destroying those Roaches so quickly. Hydra's running for their lives, but unfortunately they aren't fast right now. These Archons, great tanks up in the front, and Jaedong got completely shut down by all those high value units Crank has, and those storms were just so good.
Yeah, and you know, Crank kept all of his high-value units alive at that battle, or pretty much all of them. Lost a good number of Zealots, but the Void Rays, the Archons, those are the units that are hard to replace. He can just warp in more Zealots. It's nothing to him, just minerals. He's got plenty of minerals. Pushing in here, there are some Spores. I don't think he can continue pushing in that direction. But yeah, Jaedong took a blow that battle, but he's, you know, it's a relatively minor battle as far as Jaedong is still, he's able to remax out very quickly. And he's got his Hive Tech in now going for Greater Spire. A couple of Broodlords can really help against like a Templar Zealot-based army.
Yeah, Crank is now pushing out once again. I think he may wait for Storm to finish before he like commits to this.
Grabs both the Archons. That's a big win.
Go.
Loses decent Storms coming down. They're getting some of the speedlings. Crank really wants to make something happen soon because his combination is so Zealot-based, he's afraid of basically Hive Tech. We can see they're adding in the Robo now, realizing I may not be able to end the game now. Let's prepare myself for a type of later game composition. But here come a mass of Zealots.
Oh, great fungal there by Jaedong. The Void Rays are at the top, taking out the Hydras. The Zealots on the right are trying to push forward here. The Archons are there in the back. There's a lot of Zealots there at the top. The Void Rays are still mostly alive, and the Zealot reinforcements are pushing here forward. Jaedong is going to be forced to fall back. And with some reinforcements, he should be able to hold this off.
Yeah, some amazing fungals there on those Zealots. It was looking really good for Crank till that happened. And all of a sudden, everything turned around. Crank able to get away with a couple Void Rays, but the bulk of that army was Zealots, and they just got absolutely massacred by the Roach Hydra Force.
Yeah, those fungals those were money fungals right there, you know, to say the least. Now the supply, Jaedong at 166 versus Crank's 100. And in that whole time, while Crank was positioning himself down there outside Jaedong's natural, you know, Crank tried to put up a 4th base, but it was scouted out, and Jaedong took that out.
Using those speedlings very effectively to deny the opponent's 4th base, and now Crank's trying to retake that base. But Jaedong, with this huge army, it looks like he's sending a few Roaches down there. Sending a few Roaches down there. The rest of his army is heading up, so that if Crank kind of heads into that 4th base, Jaedong might be either attack the 3rd or at least occupy the low ground between the bases. There, Crank's in the back away, realizes he doesn't want to commit to defending that 4th base.
Yeah, Force will go once again, get canceled off, and now it's going to be trapped in the back there. Jaedong sprinkling a couple Infestors for his mix here, which is pretty good. Oh wow, nice Storm there. Hits a couple of those Hydras, but he just walk right in. The Archon kind of blocks the doorway there a little bit. That guy falls relatively quickly. And now Crank is just going to have to come in for a flank here. Does he have any High Templar up there? Not really, just Archons and Zealots and a couple Void Rays.
Yeah, he's got to get some massive Storms out because he doesn't really have a way to kill mass amount of Roaches except for that Psionic Storm. He's got the Fleet Beacon, he's got some Void Rays, but 3 Void Rays, they're not going to kill Roaches that fast, and they're probably going to end up attacking Hydralists. And the mass Zealots, another money fungal on the mass clump of Zealots.
Yeah, fungling those Zealots just completely cripples Crank's army. Those Zealots can't move up the front. They can't deal that +3 upgrades that they've used so much, and there's the GG.